welcome to the show. I'm Andrew Jupin here with Steve and Eric, and we have a very special guest today. He's the host of Gilbert Gottfried's amazing Colossal podcast, Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh, okay. Now, you say you have no language restrictions on this show?
Yeah, I feel like we maybe just opened up the floodgates and fucked ourselves.
Yeah,
but...
no. Oh, you see, I hate when you start using obscenity in front of me because I just think it's a cheap way.
A cheap laugh?
To communicate.
Well, that's what this show is all about.
Yes.
It's a cheap way to communicate.
So we are a bad movie podcast, but more like a loving way.
I think it's a bad podcast.
Oh, it's definitely a bad podcast.
Yeah. What the subject matter doesn't really matter. You have a very, very bad podcast. Yes. That we can all agree on.
Well, it started with putting hate in the title of the show. That's,
Yeah, it's not hate speech, but it's hateful.
It's close.
It gets
Sometimes,
close.
yeah.
Well, I hate it so far, and I've been on for less than a minute.
Well, that is the natural reaction,
Oh,
so we're
okay.
doing perfectly. So we're a New York-based show. You're a New York-based guy. You grew up in Brooklyn. Whereabouts in Brooklyn?
Oh, geez.
Does it still exist anymore?
Yeah, not the same way. It would be unrecognizable,
Sure.
most of it. I was Coney Island, and then Crown Heights, and then Borough Park.
Okay.
Oh, well, Borough Park's beautiful. Now it's beautiful. Lots of pretty people walking around and strutting these
Oh,
days.
yeah.
You can't walk around Borough Park without a strut. They'll kick you right out of the neighborhood. So you've done a lot of stuff over the years, and we thought we'd cherry pick some of it.
Okay.
And, and in situations like this, maybe you might not remember something, which would be
I
kind
try
of
to
fun.
forget most of the things that I've done in my career.
So this is something I thought I'd never say. Gilbert, do you remember that time you played Hitler?
Oh, yes, yes. See, that was in Highway to Hell.
Yes, he remembered it. All right.
Yeah,
very good.
with Patrick Bergen.
And he's the guy from Sleeping with the Enemy?
Yeah, with Julia Roberts.
He played Robin Hood as well, I think.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I remember in Sleeping with the Enemy, they have Julia Roberts escapes from her abusive husband, Patrick Bergen, and talk about well written. They say, how did she escape? They're on an island. Well, secretly, she's been going to the YMCA and taking swimming lessons.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's how you get out of most abusive relationships is swim away.
And I go, okay, all right. I won't ask any further questions. As an audience member, we never saw her leave the house at any point or sign up for it. And I guess the YMCA are such good swimming teachers that they taught her how to swim across an entire lake.
Dealing with the currents and
Yes.
everything else, and smelly barges.
Someone who's never swam before is all of a sudden an expert. She's Greg Lugan.
Greg Lugan.
Yes. And well, that's kind of like there was that one with Jennifer Lopez.
Enough.
Yeah, she takes self-defense lessons.
Yes, exactly.
Also like at the YMCA or so, and becomes like Jackie Chan.
Wow, it's a great organization.
They do so much that you just don't know about.
Don't call the police. Call the YMCA, and that'll get you out of your abusive relationship.
I think that's a deleted verse from the Village People song.
Oh, yes.
It's fun to hide away at the YMCA.
But yeah, so it was Highway to Hell. He'd had the entire the entire Stiller and Mira family.
Right.
Yes.
Ben Stiller was next to you playing, Attila the Hun?
Yes.
Yeah, he's believable as a Hun.
Yes.
But, your Hitler was very believable. I liked you almost as much as the real guy.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is the credit line, Gilbert Gottfried as Hitler, is a lot funnier than the actual scene.
Yes.
Yeah. In execution, it's not that. Nothing in the movie's all that funny.
Gilbert Gottfried as Hitler is like a think piece, really.
Yeah.
It's something you-
So if you're deciding on watching this film, just go right to the end credits. Look at that. Laugh when it says Gilbert Gottfried as Hitler, and don't bother to watch the scene because it doesn't live up to anything.
Do you think they were debating between as Hitler and is Hitler? Because that's a really more pointed.
Well, that would be in the poster. Gilbert Gottfried is Hitler.
and then it's just they do the Great Dictator poster and just put your face over Charlie's.
Oh, yes.
But then it's like a drama, like that Bruno Ganz movie, Der Untergang. Downfall.
Downfall, yes, where he's yelling in the bunker and screaming. And
We're all impressed that you pulled out the German title of that.
You're
movie,
welcome.
There was a Twilight Zone episode that me and a friend of mine love to talk about all the time. Where with what's his name?
Dennis Hopper?
No. Oh, no, that's another one.
Yeah. That's another
I know.
Hitler
A
one.
lot of Nazis.
That
on
was
this one.
Hitler's
That
ghost.
was the Dennis Hopper one of those hour-long?
Yeah,
It was.
Yeah.
It was very.
where they went to video too. They stopped using film.
Yes.
Yep. The season 4.
Yeah. Oh, this was the one with Luther Adler.
Okay.
Okay, Luther Adler's I think like a Jewish pawnbroker, and he makes a wish with either a genie or the devil.
Oh yes.
And that's the old thing. Whatever wish you make is twisted around.
Yeah.
So he at one point he goes, I want to be very powerful and respected. And then boom. And then in the next scene, he's got the little mustache on. And he goes, oh, no, I'm Hitler in the bunker.
Which is like, oh no, I'm Hitler at the wrong part. You know what I mean?
It's not even the golden age of Hitler. It's the 11th hour of Hitler.
You didn't get all those good Hitler years.
What does that say about that genie, too? He's like, oh, respected, powerful. He wants to be Hitler.
Yeah. It's kind of like being Orson Welles when he'd be doing the Dean Martin roast.
But I think that there's one of those Twilight Zones they had to write backwards. It's like, all right, Jewish guy is Hitler. Go. How do we do it? I don't know. Maybe there's a genie? Be careful what you wish for. Sure, now he's Hitler. That's great.
It was a teaching show. That was a teaching moment for the Twilight Zone.
Well, it's just like there was another Twilight Zone like that, also with the devil, I think. And the guy says, I want to go back in time. I want to relive and he goes, but I want to make sure I look exactly the way I looked then. So, of course, he looks that way, but he's still old.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I thought nobody would ever say, hey, I want to look that way. I don't want to be young.
Yes.
I don't want to have more energy or anything. I just want to look that way.
I feel like if you're in a genie situation and somebody's like, you have a wish, you've got to take 10 minutes and really write out your wish and cross out, find all the possible loopholes. I don't want to be turned into an old man. I want to be, I want to be rich and not rich in heart, rich. I want actual money. This is the denomination.
I don't want to get hit by a truck and be rich because I got hit by a truck.
Just take that time. Just take the time if you have the time.
It's kind of like, but just like that one with Look Young.
Yeah.
It's a lot of times in those stories, they always purposely phrase it in a dumb way. They'll go, I want to be rich. Hatchet through the skull rich. It's like, what? That's not a real. I've never heard rich described that way.
You're Hitler in that movie, though. The whole bit is you're saying to whoever's listening that you're not the real Hitler is the whole gag.
Right.
It's like, how would the devil fuck that up? The devil knows who Hitler is. He's been doing this for thousands of years.
Maybe he was a Twilight Zone character.
Yes.
He's not the real Hitler. I just want to be Hitler for a little
Also,
bit.
what I remember in that movie, too, the devil gets angry at someone and kills him. And I'm going, well, wait. You're in hell. You're in hell. You're dead already.
Yeah.
And if you're in hell and you're killed, that's like a good thing to happen.
Yeah, you're
You're
out
no
of there.
longer in hell.
I would rather cease to exist than be in hell. Thank you very much.
So, jumping off of Hitler, you recently played Abraham Lincoln.
Another one of our great leaders.
Yes. A Million Ways to Die in the
Right.
West.
It's a very not Abraham Lincoln. It's a Gilbert Ham Lincoln, which is great because you launch into the whole bit's
The
like,
schmucks.
I'm rich and you're fucking poor
Yeah.
Western people.
And there's one line they cut out at the end, which I don't know why was my favorite line in that speech. And the last line was supposed to be, if any men want to kiss me, I'll be out by the barn.
Oh, my God.
There are all those writings about how Lincoln was possibly a closeted homosexual.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they wanted to cut it out. They left that for Daniel Day. That was
Oh,
Daniel
yeah.
Day's Abraham
now
Lincoln.
with the Daniel Day, did they hint at that?
No, I guess not.
was
Another
all-
missed opportunity, if you ask
Yes.
me.
It was like a day in the life of Lincoln, basically. It was just a very bottle-centric
I
thing.
think it was the Lincoln played by Charles Nelson Riley.
That docudrama that he did.
So we wanted to see. Where you go ahead.
No.
You just started talking and then decided to stop.
Well,
That's
okay.
all right.
Let's go back in time even further than Problem Child.
But I want to look exactly how I did.
I want to be big and morbidly obese. Oh, fuck.
Yes. I want to be young, stabbed to death young. And I want to be rich, eyes gorged out of my skull rich.
I want to have the best sex of my life with demons. Oh, shit. I should have really phrased that better.
But speaking of demons,
I want to be happy, castrated and happy.
So speaking of demons,
Yes.
Problem Child. That's a nice segue because
Yeah.
that kid's a monster.
Well, the IMDb lists it as blah blah blah, young kid who is some kind of monster. Like literally, the IMDb is judging this child.
You know what? I had the writers, Larry Karaszewski and Scott Alexander,
Right.
on my podcast, and they said, believe it or not, Problem Child was based on a true story.
Oh my god!
Yeah. And they said that it was originally, the way they wrote it was to be a much darker script because it was some kid who was causing lots of problems and the parents were terrified of this kid and they were running away from the kid.
Yeah.
And then, like, Universal turned it into a comedy. But they were going to make it like more of a dark, scary film.
Well, that's the most terrifying thing, right? It's like the idea of like, especially like adoption. You don't know who you're going to get. Somebody
Yeah.
shows up, and then
Yeah.
you get
What was the bad seed, and he's watching you sleep, and he's
Oh,
fucking with
yes.
your food, you know?
Or like that newer movie Orphan, where it's like you accidentally adopted a murderous little person.
What?
Yeah.
But that, see, now that they did that in that Wayne's Brothers movie.
Yeah. Oh, the little guy
Right.
who comes in and pretends to be a baby or whatever. Right?
Yeah, it's the same
Yeah.
same thing, but darker.
And before that, I think the Wayne's Brothers movie
Yeah.
was based on a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's when you're really doing your plagiarizing.
Ripping off cartoons.
You know, based on a true Bugs Bunny story. You know?
I mean, I guess everybody's afraid of like either like raising Dahmer or you know what I mean. Like
Yes.
the last thing you want to do is like, oh yeah, I'm Mallory Dahmer, little Jeffrey. Always loved Little League.
Well, I I always liked the movie, and I really do enjoy it. Boys from Brazil.
Oh, yeah,
where
of
they're going to
course.
make the next Hitler.
Yep.
Yeah. Also a movie with one of the Stiller and Mira clan, and Mira's in it.
Oh, is she in
yeah.
Boys from Brazil?
Yeah.
That's
at that.
that's almost a genie thing too. Like you're trying to clone Hitler. Turns out you don't get the Hitler you want.
Yes.
You get Bud Hitler?
Yeah,
Is
the
this
kid, like-
the boring
Yes.
one?
Six the dogs on Mangala or whatever. It's a very sad ending.
But so it's a testament to you in that movie because you say problem child to anybody, you think of Gilbert in that movie.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, the kid, but Gilbert in that movie is what those movies are. And that second one, what's the thing in that second one? You get like crushed by something in a Chinese restaurant, or what's happening? There's like a food fight.
Oh,
or
there's a food
Someone's
fight.
throwing up on
Because the
somebody.
thing crushed in a Chinese restaurant, I'm thinking, gee. Or that's the way the Fly died in the original movie. He has that big crushing machine.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Luckily, he just happened to have a machine that crushes things.
Yeah. It's weird how memories work with that because I haven't seen that second one in ages. And in my head, there's something like Raiders of the Ark-esque, like rolling over somebody in that
Yeah,
fucking
our
movie.
faces start melting at the end. And
The little kid opens a box and your face melts.
John
off.
Ritter and Amy Asbeck keep their eyes closed, which
Yes.
lets them not have. Which is always that's the best part. Is like, all right, here comes God's wrath.
Yeah.
All right, Old Testament God's wrath. If you keep your eyes closed, you're
Oh,
fine.
yes.
yeah. If you seriously, you're fine. If you just keep your eyes closed.
well, it's just like when they talked about like the curse of like say The Exorcist.
Yeah.
When they were making that movie and they'd say, well, like one of the cameras broke down.
Yeah.
And a guy's great grandmother died. And I'm thinking, boy, the devil really doesn't have the power he used to. It's kind of like with God when people say, oh, I was in that coal mine and I saw like a trace of sunlight.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, so it's basically a card trick that God could do. He shines a light there. Why don't you lift the mountain up off him?
Yeah, exactly. Like that's like God saying, like, look at that light. It's great out here.
Yeah.
Sucks here in this fucking mine. I'm not going to do anything about that, but it is a beautiful
Well,
day.
those are those mysterious ways. Why does he do it? I don't know.
Yeah, it's sunny out here. I'm getting laid like crazy. Yeah, it's amazing.
I remember the same stories coming around the Passion of the Christ. It was like the same. Like,
was
it was
that
like a
another
haunted
haunted
movie.
set?
It was like a haunted movie set, and it was like, oh, Jesus doesn't like movies being made about him because like 3 guys had heart attacks, somebody got a heat stroke, someone got struck by lightning.
Well, quit filming in the fucking desert.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
heat
you're in
stroke.
the desert where it's 300 degrees. And it's like, oh, somebody passed out. How could that happen? Has to be Satan.
You're having everybody memorize Aramaic for no reason.
Yes.
That movie needed subtitles. That's what I'm going there for. I remember actually thinking when I saw that movie in the theater had an air conditioning problem, and it every few minutes would be. And I remember thinking, "Is that God? No, that's a waste. That's a waste of his time."
I saw an old lady cry at the end of that movie, so maybe that was God.
Oh, yes.
God's tears. The greatest example of that movie being released in America, that like putting everything together. We saw that movie. I see this little Asian woman walking into the theater. She has a huge tray, like 3 bags of massive popcorn bags, 4 huge sodas, chicken tenders, mozzarella sticks. Like, I'm going to settle in and watch this guy die up there and have a fucking feast about it. It's like, why do you need that much food? Around the time the Cat O' Nine Tails gets his eyelid, I was like, how are those tenders sitting, lady? Watching this gore fest.
I remember I saw that movie. I had just been on the Tonight Show, and they were sent a copy of Passion of the Christ. They were going to be screening it right next door, and they had gotten pizza beforehand. I remember I wasn't hungry before. And then for some reason, right after he's crucified and dies and the lights go up, I ran right to the pizza. And I'm like, and I'm the only one there. And I'm gobbling the pizza and everyone's looking at me going, boy, he gets a real appetite watching the crucifixion.
You just saw a man covered in marinara sauce.
Yes.
Was that like intended for a clip? Like, oh yeah, I played Jesus. Let's take a second. And it's just him getting whipped. Like, yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Now, you did a really great thing on TV that we used to watch all the time, the USA Up All Night series.
Oh, yes.
How did that come about? Because that's a special kind of TV that doesn't exist anymore.
No, they have very little in the way of hosts.
Yeah,
now.
hosting a movie, like $1 million movie type thing.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I grew up with Zachary and he did like the horror movies.
Yeah. There was a lot of those local hosts, like an Elvira type person or something. Yeah.
And I think that's kind of you're watching a movie with somebody. You know what I mean? Like whether or not it's even the host is talking about the movie or has interesting facts, like maybe they're doing a joke, maybe they're telling a personal story, but like now we're connecting, we're watching this movie together, kind of a thing, and it's a lost.
Just like I used to watch The Three Stooges with Officer Joe Bolton, was the guy in New York.
And he hosted the shorts?
Yeah. He'd be in a cop outfit, swinging his nightstick.
Was he looking for the Stooges, or was he just kind of...
If you kids see him out there, let Officer Joe know.
He's going to arrest them for hitting each other with a hammer.
But what was great about Up All Night was you got to do bits. It wasn't just like hosting. You had actual comedy bits. Were you doing any of the writing for that? Did you have any sway in what movies they licensed at all?
I never was able to pick like what movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember it was like tits and ass comedies with the tits and ass cut out.
Exactly how you want to watch those movies.
Yeah, so you could concentrate on the writing. Yeah.
I want to see more of this ski school, all right?
Yes.
Enough with the TNA. Let's get down to the mechanics of
the actual course load of the ski school, not their off-the-slopes antics.
Oh, yeah. Ski school that played a lot all night. And... what was some of the others?
Nightmare Beach was one that I remember specifically.
I think, wasn't there one like Bikini? There were about 1 million with Bikini.
Yeah.
Bikini, like Race or Bikini Island.
Bikini Beach Massacre.
Yeah,
There's a lot of like horror stuff.
Yeah.
Because that stuff's cheap. You license that stuff.
And I remember a lot of those. One movie in particular had everybody's like sibling.
Yeah.
Like they had Jim Hanks and Frank Stallone, and they had all those people.
I would love an Expendables movie like that. Like literally, you get Roger Clinton in there. You know, like maybe he's a crooked senator. I could see that.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Is Jim Belushi too big for something like that?
Oh,
He's
he might
still a
be.
brother.
Yeah. We didn't get to him in time. Yeah.
Or maybe he'll play like the CIA officer that brings it all together.
I could see like all the Baldwin brothers teaming up in that movie as like a hitman squad. You know, the other one's not Alec. Everybody but.
Now that reminds me, when you said the guy who brings it all together, that was basically Spencer Tracy in Mad Mad World.
Yeah, he was the mastermind of that whole race.
But his whole reason in the movie seemed to be like going, okay, now he's stuck in the basement of a building, and this guy is in the river, and he was basically telling you what's going on in the movie. Though that was his whole reason for being there.
I think his credit in that movie is the puppet master. He's just the one dangling everybody.
Pull the strings. Yes.
We were watching some of your material on YouTube, which is a great Gilbert resource, and your impressions we wanted to talk about because we do what's known as terrible impressions on our show. When we
you do a terrible podcast.
Yeah, it's just
if
it's
it
right in
makes
line.
you feel any better.
We said from day one, consistency.
Yeah.
Terrible show, terrible jokes, terrible impressions.
Well, about 4 years ago, I was approached by a man in an antique shop, and he said, "Give me your wish." I was like, "I wish to have a rip-roaring awful podcast." And sure enough, here's where I am.
But you had this bit where it's an alternate cast to the Honeymooners. Do you remember that?
Oh, God. I used to do the Honeymooners like as a movie trailer where it was, I think it was Jack. Oh, no.
James
It was
Mason as Jackie.
Yeah, I think it was James Mason as Jackie Gleason, Richard Burton as Norton,
yeah.
and Jack Nicholson as Alice.
That is the best. But what is do you remember what the button on that was when you say Jack Nicholson and it's you're not going fucking bowling?
Oh,
it's
yes.
just the best because you just do.
So
you're like
funny.
you hear Jack Nicholson, you're like, well, there's two guys on that show. Who's left? As Alice, what? You're not going fucking bowling? That slays me. Did you always, when you started out? I mean, you've been doing stand up.
You know, that's an interesting thing too, because in that I remember I was doing more the young Jack Nicholson when he talked like that.
Yeah.
And then later on he talked like that. It was almost like he turned into Don Knotts. Like I'm a deputy. Yeah.
Yeah, he talks now like he's got like a permanent hernia. I feel.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
like what that is.
Yeah.
That's what that noise is.
Yeah, like you can't. I can't actually. You can handle the truth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there it is.
Yeah.
So did you when you started out doing
Like
stand
Rod
up?
Steiger.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, God.
Yeah, he went from it was talking like that all the time. It was Rod Steiger used to talk, and then he became, because it's funny, he played W.C. Fields in
Yes.
the movie, and then he kind of became W.C. Fields. Like in his later interviews, he would talk. Rod Steiger sounded like, well, when I did that movie.
Yeah, he just like got stung by a bunch of bees towards the end of it.
Oh, yeah.
Were you always doing impressions? Is that how your stand up started?
When I started out, it was all impressions. So it was really not that different from those. And it's funny, they don't have out-and-out impressionists now.
no.
Right.
They have people who do lots of impressions, like in comedy shows and sketches, but the idea of a guy on a variety show going, and if it was Burt Lancaster, it might go a little something like this. And then he would turn around, pull his collar up, mesh his hair, and then turn around with a weird face.
That's what I feel ruined the impressionist is those like the warm up for it. Like, get ready
Yes.
for what's about, and you pretend to fuck with your face, but you're not.
Oh, yeah,
fucking with
yeah,
your
yes,
face.
you're just making a face. Yeah.
It's like, oh, let me just move my nose here.
I think it's psychological, too. Like, if I turned around and said, hey, imagine if it was Halle Berry, and I just, like, stick my tongue out and make my eyes cross-eyed, and they go, oh, my God, that's just the way she looks. You
fucking nailed it.
Well, when he turned around, he had magical powers, and now he looks exactly like her. Oh my God, how'd he do that?
But, like, the way you do stuff like that, the way you did it was you're just launching into. You're not turning around.
Yeah.
You're not preparing. You're not putting on an invisible mustache. You're like, this is the next person and doing it.
Yeah.
And, there's something about seeing it, the same face, go through those voices. That's what's impressive about impressionists. Which all those hack dudes that do the warm up.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, get ready for it. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Hang on.
Maybe adjust my invisible coat. And
Or if like you get like a team of makeup artists on stage, they do like they get you ready. Like it's really going to be good. Hold on,
4
everybody.
hours later. After
Well,
you
the
get out of
more
makeup
prep
chair.
is because the shittier the impression,
Yes.
right? The more makeup and whatever.
Hey, are you familiar with the 70s honeymooners?
Oh yeah,
The
Yeah, a
musical.
little bit.
the variety show they had, right?
Oh, God.
That's wretched, huh?
Yes. And it was like in color.
Yep.
And I
Yeah.
remember like Gleason, a Brooklyn bus driver, is there with that orange brown tan.
Yes.
And you wonder how this bus driver in Brooklyn gets a tan like that.
Yeah, everyone on that show looked like they fell asleep at the beach.
Oh, yes, yes. And he and he'd have a pinky ring.
yeah, exactly. I just forgot. And the other thing was they were like, okay, you know what? Those two actresses, Audrey Meadows and what I forget, Jean shit.
Who was the other
What
one?
the hell
Audrey
was?
Meadows
Oh,
and-
not Jane. Jane King was later, I think.
But they just replaced
Yeah.
them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like as if Audrey Meadows didn't add anything to the
Yeah.
honeymoon. Like we could just get some actress off
Yeah.
the street. It's like no, Audrey Meadows actually had a lot to do with why that show was so good.
Oh yeah, and it was like, and then they break into songs.
Yeah, Gene Audrey. Sorry.
Yeah.
Ralph Cramden's not singing a fucking song.
Yeah.
Like, come on with that. Like, why you want a Jackie Gleason variety show? That's fine. Don't make it the Honeymooners.
Oh yeah.
Taint the classic show.
Well, it's like after Jack Klugman had his vocal cords removed, and then they did that TV movie.
Yes.
And so Oscar has his vocal cords removed, and I go, no. I mean, it said Jack Klugman had his vocal cords
Yeah.
removed, but don't make Oscar Madison.
Just so
what did
happened.
Oscar do to deserve
Yeah,
that, you know?
and they played cards with a different group of card players.
Yep. Just swap
And
them
we
in.
go, well, wait a minute. We know the other card players.
That's a great Twilight Zone, if I'm remembering right. The Jack Klugman pool hall episode.
Oh yes.
And that's Jackie Gleason as well, isn't it? Or did I make that up?
No,
you're thinking of
Jonathan
Minnesota
Winters.
Fest.
Jonathan Winters. Yes.
Yes.
And he's great in that one.
He's also like playing what's that famous
Minnesota Fats. right?
Minnesota Fats.
Yes.
And it's like he dies, but he wants to beat him, so he's playing a ghost at pool, which
Yes.
is great. Klugman was on a couple of those.
Oh yeah, he was on another end on my podcast. I had on Billy Mummy.
Oh yeah, listen to that
Oh,
one. That's
yeah.
great.
And that was another great Twilight Zone, where Klugman is a small-time thug, and he finds out that his son was shot in Vietnam.
Yep.
And he wants to spend one more day with him because he always ignored him.
Those are the weird ones that I watch when I'm older and I really appreciate, like the sentimental ones, because like when
Oh,
you're
yes.
when you're younger or whatever, it's like where's the horror, where's the twist,
Yeah.
who's got a pig nose, who doesn't have a pig nose. But now it's just like you get a little older, like oh my god, there's the one with the guy and his dog and they're trying to get to heaven or whatever that is.
That's the final episode of the show.
Oh, is it?
Where it's like the fence and
Yes.
he's walking beyond the fence and
Oh.
beyond the fence is heaven.
Yeah,
it's
and-
not the final episode of the show. Never, I'm wrong. The final episode is the one with the little kids in the pool and they jump into the pool or some shit and it's like another fantasy world.
They shit in the pool.
That was the shit in the pool episode of Twilight.
It was a
Sterling
weaker
was
twist.
really running on fumes at that point.
Submitted for your approval. Is it a candy bar?
But they were pieces of shit with pig noses. That's what.
Oh my
that's
God.
what it's real scary.
That is otherworldly.
It's in the eye of the beholder. I don't know if it's shit. It's got a pig nose. In my world, that's beautiful.
You're trying to fix that magic mask onto the piece of shit. That's the problem.
In my world, everyone shits in the pool.
This is what you do.
It was. Do you remember this one? It was two little kids, and their parents were terrible, so they dove into
So
a
they-
pool, and it unlocked a door to a magical universe.
That will honestly tell your parents what's what. Oh, there's a bunch of shit in the pool. Maybe we should get our act together.
And then after they shit in the pool, somebody jumps out of the pool and goes To serve man. It's a cookbook.
I see we're down to the recipe for stew.
But that old man in the dog episode is heartbreaking because he's like, I have to go beyond, but like you're a dog, so you have to stay here.
Oh, that's horrible.
And your heart is being torn out. And you're like, fuck you, Rod Serling. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah, now you're leaving a dog by itself. That's cheating.
It's purgatory. You know, what the hell's that dog going to do in it?
Oh, you know, another sentimental one I really liked was the one with Gig Young, where I think it was Walking Distance, it was called.
His hometown?
Yes. Yeah.
That's another I wish things were like they used to be.
Yes.
And you're just like, it's another person with a shitty life.
Oh, yeah.
And he gets, but that's a weird one, though, because doesn't he, like, break a leg or something on a carousel?
He's chasing himself.
That's right.
He wants to talk to himself as a kid. And the kid trips and falls and injures his leg. Then he also feels it in his leg.
Well, you got to understand from that kid, there's some creepy old man chasing you on the merry-go-round. You know, this is the innocent 50s. Here's some guy saying, "You're me, come back."
Yeah, exactly.
I'd freak out too.
And then how many episodes did people find out, we'll call this planet Earth? Yes.
That's the thing. It was Earth all along. The devil did it. It was a genie or a magic pig mask.
Yeah.
I think you could distill that show into 4 plot lines.
Speaking of Genie, I have to do it because of I'm a huge comic book guy. You played Mr. Mitzelplick a couple of times.
Oh, yes.
That's one of my favorite. I love that old Superman show, the Bruce Timm, the 90s one. That's one of my favorite episodes, and I really love the character, and it's really, I read the books now, like even Alan Moore comics or whatever, and Mr. Mitzelplick shows up, and your voice pops into my head, you know?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was, with Tim Daly.
Yes, exactly.
Was Superman. And... yeah, and everyone has a different way of saying it. Like in the cartoon, it was Miss Yes Piglet.
Yes. Yeah, and then I say it's one of those things. It's like 12 X's and a Z, and you're like, all right, kid, figure it out.
Yeah.
So you have to eventually.
Yeah, what Eastern European country was this dude from? All those consonants are jammed into there.
Maybe it's the one Dr. Doom runs.
Yeah. Or it could be a thing where that would be his like weakness is he goes to Ellis Island and they change it.
The magic was in my ethnic name, and you ripped it from me.
They changed it to Mitchell.
It's a lot easier to say backwards, that's for sure.
What was the thing we were talking about?
I was in 2 or 3 episodes of Superboy.
Yes.
Oh, the live action.
Yeah.
As Knick-Knack.
Knick-Knack.
Yeah.
Very good.
Knick-Knack, which there's one where somebody's on vacation because you're in a Hawaiian shirt.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Which it's like Superboy can't even let these villains go on vacation.
Yeah.
You know? He's there ruining your good time. And I think that, that show didn't have the highest budget.
No.
So the gag is you're like, I got you now, Superboy. Here's a bucket on your head.
Yeah. Yes.
If it was modern times, like you'd use that bucket and then, that leads to like, water
there
torture.
was one scene where he like grabs me by the lapels and lifts me off the ground. And they had me standing on a seesaw. And when he grabs my lapels, a couple of the crew guys, get on the other side.
You have to be terrified, like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Here comes Superboy.
Well, that's like going home from a day of work. What'd you do on the set today? Oh, I was the seesaw guy.
Yeah.
And Gilbert got picked up. I pushed the seesaw.
You know, there is probably like a conversation with the union guys. Oh no, you got to get 3 seesaw guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like no. We need more than one to lift Gilbert. We need 3.
Yeah. No, we need, it has to be from the Seesaw Union. And we can't have non-Seesaw guys there.
And they can't get there for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
This whole episode's postponed.
And we need 12 guys working that Seesaw.
exactly.
Yeah.
You need to make sure everything goes safely, or else
Yeah.
somebody will fall off that seesaw. Oh my God!
One of your first movies was the bit you've got in Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Yes.
Which, now, some people say this, and I don't know if there's truth to it. How much of that was just you riffing on that, improvising on that?
That we were, in the original script, it was, I have these traffic tickets, and he says, is there some way we can avoid this unpleasantness? And he gives him $200, and that's the scene.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just started playing around. I, ignored it and the whole script, and just started whatever came into my head. And I think we did it different each time.
And you've got people like Eddie and Judge who can riff on that
Oh,
stuff,
yeah.
too. Do you find yourself doing that a lot when you do these scripted things? Just kind of like, I got it.
It was, especially then, I'd love to ignore it. And Problem Child, I did it, and Fort Fairlane, but, on TV, because it's such a filthy word. Yeah. When they show Beverly Hills Cop 2, that scene where I pick up the phone and scream "bitch," they cut out because "bitch" is such a dirty word now.
Filthy word, and so they cut it, and they don't dub you over. Do you find yourself getting dubbed sometimes?
Oh my God! Sometimes they dub me over. And they didn't call me to dub me.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden the voice is like, "Oh, fiddlesticks." And it's like, what?
No, that used to be a dirty word, right?
Oh, fiddlesticks is as filthy as it goes.
Yeah,
Victorian age.
1902. That was the worst thing you could say.
Those TV dubs are so lazy sometimes. We were talking about this. We did an episode. We were talking about the Macaulay Culkin movie, The Good Son. Remember that where it's another evil child movie?
Yes.
And there's a part in that where he's threatening Elijah Wood, and he says, "Don't fuck with me," is the line. And for the TV dub, they got a guy who's clearly not a little white child, like a middle-aged black gentleman. And it's just, you hear the little tiny
They
voice.
got Red Fox. Go, you big dummy.
But they only dubbed over fuck.
Well, my favorite is cops and gangsters,
Yes.
where one throws the other guy and goes, "Forget you, man." And I'll go, who in real life has ever said, "Forget you"?
Well, all the cops in those shows, when they get dubbed, they've turned into Mormons eventually.
Oh, yes. Or I remember they showed The Godfather on TV. The first time they had it was "Son of a buck."
Sure. Those things, you cut that down. It's like, what is it, 45 minutes long? A 3-hour movie of all the inappropriate
and
stuff you
in
cut out?
Problem Child, my favorite of replacing was in the movie. He's in 2. It's like these women are bringing him pies to welcome him to the neighborhood, and then he's going on a date with one of the women. And the kid goes, "Oh, her pie gave us the runs." So they decided that's disgusting. So they changed it to "her pie gave us the rash."
That sounds worse.
It's way more disgusting.
It goes from diarrhea to syphilis. Yeah. It's like,
And I mean, it changes the whole story, too. A bad pie, I understand, it gives you the runs. A bad pie gives you a rash. What the fuck's going on in this kitchen?
Yeah.
What did they do
Yes.
to that pie before they served it?
yeah.
What I loved in those movies was he had like this great, like, I'm trying to be an awesome single dad house where they had like a jukebox and a pinball machine. And you're just looking at it as like a kid from suburbia, like, that's a fake movie house. Like,
Oh, yes.
He bought
Yes.
a catalog of cool dad garbage and had it moved in there.
And if I was the social service worker who's like investigating his home, if I go to this guy's house and he's got this tricked out apartment to make this kid seem like he's cool, I'm like, you know what? Maybe we'll move him to the next house. Someone's trying too hard to get something, and I don't know what it is.
Or I remember too, like on TV and movies, every teenager had a stop sign hanging in his room.
Well, that's like your office in that in the second one where he comes in and you're like, oh, it's this monster kid again. The office that they decorated for you as the principal or whatever is like stop signs and crossings. I was like, what office is this?
The desk is made out of pencils. It's a whole bunch of pencils.
That's the set of a Nickelodeon TV show.
Yeah.
That's not an 80s comedy.
I can't help but admiring this enormous, awesome Frankenstein you have over here. Is that so? You're a Universal guy, right? You love the Universal monster movies.
Yeah. The old, I got that one from when I was a little kid. That's the same poster.
Wow.
I had when I was a little kid. I ordered it from the back of Famous Monsters of Filmland.
It must be worth like $1 million.
I know. I mean, I if I could go back in time, number one, I'd like to look as young as I did this. I'd like to be old, but look young. And I'd like to have my eyes gorged out.
Yes. I'd like to go back in time and have the penis ability of a 4-year-old boy. Oh, fuck. I'm living forever, but I can't come. I just can't come.
I'd like to be rich. Billy Barty's penis rich.
So jumping off of Frankenstein, have you treated yourself to viewing I, Frankenstein yet?
Wait a second.
With what was Aaron Eckhart?
Aaron Eckhart.
Oh, it's a terrible film.
Oh, I'll have to see that.
Oh, it's awful. And they also did Dracula Untold.
Yeah, the origin story of Dracula.
Oh.
These are these things we have to explain away how things came to be.
Oh,
he can't just be a vampire.
Nope.
It's him as Vlad the Impaler.
You can see Dracula at home, which is what you wanted, like raising his kid.
That's what that movie is. It's Dracula trying to be a good father. And I'm like, who could possibly care? Bite somebody. Bite your kid. That's the movie.
But apparently this is all an attempt to make like a connected cinematic universe, and they wanted, like how Marvel's doing, they wanted to bring back the Universal monsters and make it
Like
all
Marvel
connected.
crossover?
Well, they tried to bring the old Universal monsters back, and in a whole disc, a whole box set or whatever, with Van Helsing.
Oh, Van Helsing, yes,
Van
that movie,
Helsing.
the Hugh Jackman
That
thing.
was so bad.
Yeah.
That's like, it's one of those things they cram in so many because he's chasing Mr. Hyde at the beginning, and you're like, all right, that's one. There's a werewolf in there. That's two.
Yeah.
There's a Dracula. There's a Frankenstein.
But
That's
there's
too
this impulse to make everything an action movie. But these are horror movies. You can't just turn them into an action movie where it's Bruce Willis fighting fucking Frankenstein. It should be, Frankenstein's supposed to be scary. You know what I mean?
And like the Lugosi was subtle, it wasn't like he wasn't kickboxing.
Yeah.
But the Universal movie, those sequels had crossovers all the time. And Lon Chaney would come play, opposite Lugosi and whatever. But it was still horror movies.
Oh,
It's not like Lon Chaney Jr. with a shotgun.
Although the Invisible Man, they did the Invisible Agent, where he goes behind enemy lines in Germany.
Oh my God, yes.
That was a great one, but that was more of an action turf. It kind of worked.
Yeah, and
He was like throwing blankets on Nazis.
Van Helsing, it's like the only thing missing is, so you saw the candle move. Oh, chick!
Abbott and Costello needed to change their bus route, essentially.
Yeah, we gotta. Hey, Van Helsing, we gotta take these crates to McDougal's House of Horrors.
I would love that if they were his like little sidekicks. He keeps doing all this hunky action, and they get scared.
What was that thing? Bela Lugosi was buried in his Dracula cave.
Oh, yes.
That's dedication. I'm committed to this role literally
That
for
goes
eternity.
beyond De Niro or Meryl Streep.
I think he was a little convinced he was Dracula. He's like, look, I'm going to get buried in this cave, and then you'll fucking see.
See, you know what? They started putting in logic and explanations where they were really fucking it up.
Yep.
Was the last of the Monster Alley ones of Universal, where it was where they explain away all of the mystery to all these monsters. Like they go for a cure to the mad doctor, and the mad doctor's going, well, what causes vampirism is cells in the blood.
Yep.
And you have a pressure on your cranium which turns you into a werewolf. And it's like, what?
Lobotomies for everybody.
Yeah.
How about fucking magic? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, let's just say magic is magic, and that's
Whatever happened to a good old-fashioned curse?
Yes.
Gypsies did it. Go.
and that's the beginning of that thing that we do now in modern movies, where everyone's looking in a microscope at the cells and like, oh my god, Dracula's cells are fighting each other.
Oh,
like,
yes.
no, it's
Even his cells are kickboxing each other.
Speaking of monsters, you performed at the Gathering of the Juggalos
Oh,
last year.
yes.
Is there an initiation ceremony? Are you a juggalo now? Is there secretly a picture of you with clown makeup on?
It's very, very weird. I had done that TV show or that cable of
Oh, right. It was an ICP theater or some such.
yeah, that of Clown Posse.
Yes,
yeah. And I went to that thing, the Juggalos, and the very fact that I wasn't killed, I consider one of these remarkable accomplishments.
At what point did you realize you made a mistake?
From the very beginning. I remember they picked me up in a car, and we're driving along, and then all of a sudden we're driving up a dirt road.
Yeah, that pavement stops really quickly.
Yeah, the pavement stops. There are no lights where we're going. It just looks like, this is for a ritual killing. and then all of a sudden it lights up and millions of the most freakish looking people in a weird makeshift circus kind of looking place.
It's like seconds away from a Jonestown. I feel like it
Yes.
could go
Yes.
Jonestown,
Yeah.
at any moment with that.
And the fact that I got on, actually performed and got off with no. I mean, I've heard people have had like razors thrown at them.
Yeah, like it's a tough crowd, like literally prison time.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
literally.
yes.
Are you adjusting the act for juggalos at all? Like, they might not
Gauge the
find
room.
that. Yeah, exactly. How do you read the room in a
I
situation?
bring out more of my maniac clown material. my John Wayne Gacy imitation kills there. It just
Well, the thing is, was Gacy an evil clown, or was he just a fucked up guy that liked clowns? I think
well,
there's a
no, I think he would dress up as a clown
And then-
for like different events.
Yeah.
He played children's birthday parties.
Yeah, and there's one scene with him and Mrs. Jimmy Carter.
yeah.
Where he's in a clown outfit with his arm around the president.
Wait, he got to perform at the White House?
Yes, I think so.
How did the security people not?
And
catch
somewhere, somewhere, Ted Bundy is going, fuck, why didn't they invite me?
He was the clean-cut, handsome serial killer. You invited the fat clown to the White House.
So he did so well at these kids' birthday parties that the word got all the way to the White House. Well, Jimmy's got a birthday coming up.
Definitely paid in Billy beer.
Yes.
Yeah, and he was... He dressed up as a clown, and he made clown paintings also.
Yeah, I think that was like his good side. You know what I mean? Literally. I have all this good in me. I have to get it out somehow.
Kind of like how Hitler could tap dance. Yeah.
Oh, he was beautiful. Oh, if you could see him.
If only they had just analyzed his cells, they would have been able to figure out the cure
Right.
for what we call Gacyism.
Yes. His cranium is way too tight. And there are cells in his bloodstream.
Needs a couple leeches. And he'll be fine.
One of the episodes we did early on in this show was we talked about Dice Clay's Ford Fairlane, which you're in as like a Stern-esque shock jock kind of guy.
Yes.
How did that come to be? That's one of your earlier roles. That's like 82 or something, maybe a little
I
later.
think it's 90, actually.
Is it 90?
89,
really?
90,
89, okay, yeah.
Yeah, another one of those movies that is so entrenched in the 80s.
Yeah, big time.
Everything about it. You just have to watch half a second of that and go, this is an 80s film. Yeah.
Right down to the koala bear that's hung from the little ceiling
Oh,
fan.
yes.
Well, that's a weird movie because it's a comedy, but it's directed by Rennie Harlan, who's an action director.
Oh, yes, who directed the wonderful film Pirate, I think it was called.
Cutthroat Island.
Cutthroat Island.
Oh,
with
one of the
Gina
biggest
Davis.
bombs of all
that
time.
split up his marriage with Gina Davis.
It ruined like every career it touches. Like Matthew Modine was done after that.
Oh, my God, yes. I saw like about 10 minutes of that on TV, and it was fascinatingly bad. You know those movies that are so bad they hypnotize you?
Oh, yeah, you can't look away.
Yeah. You go, how much worse can this be? You know, it's like...
But that movie, you've got a hilarious death in.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think it might have been, I don't know how many times you've been killed on movies and TV. But this is like someone had a vendetta against you. Are electrocuted and set on fire.
Yeah.
You're just like, wow, someone really wanted Gilbert to bite it.
Someone just didn't like me.
Did you know Dice at all before doing that movie?
Not well.
Yeah.
I run into him.
Yeah. So who were some of the guys that you consider your comedy buddies?
Oh, let's see. The Rich Brothers. Wheeler and Woolsey.
All the heavy hitters.
Doodles Weaver. We used to hang.
Gacy and you were tight, I heard.
You used to warm up the crowd for him.
Gacy had a solid like 20 minutes. So you also have your podcast. You're coming up on a year anniversary of that,
Yes,
by the way.
Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal Podcast on GilbertGottfried.com and iTunes and SideshowNetwork.tv.
So why a podcast for you?
I have no idea. I think I turned to a podcast the way those old actors used to turn to Murder, She Wrote.
That show, I never understood why anyone would hang out around her because everyone she hung out with turned up dead.
Yeah.
Every last one. You couldn't be friends with Angela. You wound up dead.
The last episode should have been like her. She was the mastermind the whole time.
Yeah, she's pulling the strings.
Yeah.
Or she has to solve her own murder.
Right.
Like DOA. Remember that movie?
Yeah, DOA was a great movie.
yes.
The old film noir where he solves his own murder.
I've been poisoned. no, I'm here to report a murder. My own.
Yeah.
And that was one of those movies that when I watched it, I said, boy, the beginning's great.
Yeah.
And I wished it could have been a better movie.
Yep.
It just doesn't quite live up to the beginning.
When you have one of those initial like impact scenes and it's got like a great premise and it just sort of fizzles out towards the end.
Yeah, and then it's just him checking out this warehouse for a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, but also in that movie, how everything switches around, Luther Adler is the gangster.
Oh, he's the ringleader?
He had wished to be a very powerful man.
I want to be a successful gangster. A successful gangster being shot down by the police. Successful.
That's what I wanted to ask you about because we're talking about 80s movies that are so 80s. There's a remake of an original great. Did you ever see the original Cat People? From the 40s, speaking of Universal movies.
And then there was the one, with Natasha Kinski.
Yes.
And Annette O'Toole and Malcolm McDowell.
Yes. And John Hurd. And who's the other guy in it? What's his face? Ed Begley Jr. Is another guy.
Yeah, because he's complaining with the Cats that they can reuse the litter box for ecology reasons. They're wasting too much.
Trying to make that zoo green.
Yeah, you can rinse off the litter afterwards and save the planet.
But it's an amazing movie because what they did, they took a classic horror movie with all the ambiguity of is she a cat person, is she not? And they just kind of remade it based off of your aristocrats joke. Because it's a movie where we've got brother-sister incest, we've got bestiality in that movie. I'm sure feces is thrown about in one way or another. It's like, what are you doing? You take this perfect movie, and then it's like, no, she's definitely a cat. She's definitely fucking her brother.
Yeah.
We're definitely turning... You're eating the gristle off of... It's disgusting.
Although Natasha Kinski and Ned O'Toole have great nude scenes.
Yes,
so I can't attack the movie. Okay, it doesn't work as a horror film, but as a jerk-off film, I give it an A+.
You picked the Oscar movies, right? Is that
Yes.
That's why Ski School did so well. Surprisingly.
Well, and then her father did that remake of Nosferatu.
Yes.
The Werner Herzog Nosferatu.
It's a very strange movie that's just kind of out there. I think there's some new... It's a lot of people like dancing in Transylvania. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
it was based on the book, Dancing in Transylvania.
Isn't that Walking in Memphis? Who's that guy? Oh, no.
Who sang Walking in Memphis?
Yes,
I don't know. Dancing in Transylvania. All right, well, I think we should wrap up. We've been having a lot of fun, but Gilbert Gottfried's amazing Colossal podcast, which in itself is a nice like B-movie reference title.
From Bird Eye Gordon, Amazing Colossal Man.
In that vein of like nuclear attack at the 50-foot woman, all that great stuff.
The Cyclops,
Dancing with Cyclops, I think, was a later sequel over that.
Was Natasha Kinski in that?
Yeah, she's naked through the entire thing.
And I think because in Cyclops, he makes a wish. I want to be rich, but a mutant Cyclops.
Oh, shit, I should have worded that better. Gilbert, thank you so much for being on We Hate Movies.
You.
So that was us talking with Gilbert Gottfried, by the way.
What an experience. It was...
kind of awesome hanging out with Gilbert Gottfried for an afternoon. Yeah,
Sure.
Some of the things that we did mention on the show, and for new listeners, we did do an episode on the Adventures of Ford Fairlane that Gilbert is in. It's not on the main feed, so check out WHMpodcast.com, click on the episodes tab, and somewhere in there, maybe towards the middle, I don't know, it was a while ago.
I think it's like episode 50 or some such thing.
Yeah, a while back we talked about the action movie starring the Dice Man, starring Gilbert as a shock jock. Be sure and check that out. You can stream it live on our website. Again, not on the main feed. And if you want to check out more episodes of We Hate Movies, check out our website, WHMpodcast.com, or check out the other shows on the Sideshow Network, SideshowNetwork.tv. And like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. We're at WHM Podcast. So that's it for this edition of WHM Interview. Hope we get to do some more of these. Until next time, I'm Andrew Jupin.
Eric Siska.
Steven Sadak.
Take it easy.